Good day, everyone. This is Rita Choi, founder of Asia HRM. Asia HRM is a human resources community focusing on leadership and coaching. We help organizations build high-performing teams. We also have a coaching platform called Coaching Engage Plus, connecting qualified coaches with their potential clients. Our vision is to make coaching affordable and accessible by everybody. As a continuation of our series of LinkedIn Live sessions on how HR leaders tackle all the HR top challenges, today is one of our sessions for the Singapore series. I really look forward to stories from our speaker today on workforce development journey. I love hearing stories. And our speaker for today is an award-winning learning and development expert or practitioner, Mr. Chow Yong. I simply call him CY. So let me welcome CY to the stage so that he can share with us more. CY, just let us know more about you before we. Yeah, hi, CY. How are you doing?
I'm good. And
Good.
thanks
Okay.
for inviting me for today's session.
You're very welcome. So CY, so we are going to do a Q&A format. So for those who are watching our video today, just say hi to us and we'll hello back to you. And CY, before we start this session with questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I've been in the L&D space over 2 decades now. So I've been in making, doing a lot of learning, organizational change, talent development, and of course, in recent years, very much in lots of transformation, journeying with different companies across various sectors. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so in the interest of time, let's start with the first question. What are some effective strategies for assessing baseline capabilities among employees? CY.
Okay, I think before we go into this very first question itself, of course, I think I did share with you, about my approach to workforce development journey with various organizations, and I would always, anchor it with 3 pillars in mind. Number one, it'll be on strengthening core. Number two, growing people, and number three, building capabilities. So to your first question with regards to the effective strategies for assessing baseline capabilities among employees, that really goes back to the space of both the pillars of number one, we talk about strengthening core, and number two, growing people. So if we talk about the baseline capabilities these days itself is very fast evolving, right? With the age of AI and also numerous new technologies emerging itself. In fact, there's always this part about the L&D practitioners that we need to do these days is really to unlearn what we have been doing all these years, and we also have to start learning new ways of working to come up with meaningful learning initiatives. Really, that's for the purpose of bringing up to speed, the capabilities that's required by the organization. So I think one of the most effective strategies these days in the market is definitely the space of skills assessment, right? If you were to talk about skills assessment, probably a decade ago itself, I think skills assessment, the space was very much riding on IT related assessments. So I still remember back in my initial transformation years with Infocom company itself, we did identify skills assessment as a way to I would say, help to make informed decisions about placement of talents across organization when it comes to reorganization itself. No? So if you were to talk about skills assessment back then, it was very much looking at the various computing languages. You give them scenarios for them to do coding, basic coding, and based on the results gathered from this coding assessment inputs from the employees itself, we'll be able to see, whether, number one, uh, there are competent employees who have, make them up. Number two, there could be new gems, new diamonds, of talents that we may not have thought of. Uh, and again, I think that was very important when it comes to making an informed decision about no placement of talents, right? You fast forward to today, I think the skills assessment domains has expanded tremendously. You are able to do assessments based on even power skills. When we talk about power skills, it's about soft skills, and the assessment can be adaptive in nature, which means the assessment questions will be based on the inputs from the employees taking the assessments. So the level of difficulties for questions may increase or decrease depending on the inputs given, right? And that matters because with such tools these days itself, right, we'll be able to actually have a very wide spectrum of skills data of employees.
I see why.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so you
that's
mentioned,
that's my.
yeah. Okay, very nice. So, and but any like lessons that you learned from your experience of learning and relearning of this kind of initiative for your employees?
I would relate it more to myself because as I would term myself as a change agent, and if you want to make changes for the organizations, for your employee population, change has to start from within, and in fact, the change started with myself, So in this case itself, I did really have to put aside, for L&D practitioners, we do have our playbook, like, okay, this is what I've done in my previous industry. Then you want to, replicate, or sometimes you don't want to change the winning formula. But as time evolves, especially the past 10 to 15 years itself, increasingly, the traditional way of doing L&D has become more or less obsolete. So for me, it was also a painful transition because I have to really, in terms of analogy, it's really like, um, driving maybe a sedan, and now I'm driving an F1 car, so it's really full running on full throttle, and it's literally you have to think about it this way, in the sense that, number one, I think I have to make the effort to change, and number two itself, I also have to sell the idea. I think that's the dilemma sometimes, because now if you're venturing to something new, right? You do have to also win over yourself first before winning over the stakeholders. And sometimes winning over the stakeholders will also take a bit of time, because the stakeholders may also be in the same mindset as you were previously. Like, oh, this is how things work in the past. No, why are we changing? No, and again, I think when it comes to this stakeholders partnership itself, I think it is where the real conversations takes place, because on one side of the equation, you also have to know that for them, they may not be very familiar with the changes, and number two itself, they may also be a lot more preoccupied with their day-to-day work. And in terms of prioritizing this conversation itself, it's very much, I would say, no, when you have to slowly brew this conversation in such a way that you are able to gain some clarity and also in terms of the understanding from both sides of us. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. So when you were mentioning about change, right? I could
Mhm.
remember that one of the speakers ever mentioned that as a human resources person or even L&D person, we should not lead the change. We should adapt to the changes. What do you
Mm.
think?
I think adapting to the change really brings about this story that I would relate to when I was in the postal logistics sector. So in terms of adapting to change itself, I think uh, sometimes we always think that no, hey, we have been, if I relate to the postal logistics environment. It's related to post office, and when it comes to post office itself, right, the employees demographics are mainly, I would say, those above 40s. So they are very much like your postal officers manning the counters. And they are your typical friendly aunties and uncles. Serving the post office within the district. So they may have been working in that area for more than 10 years and above. Long-serving staff, and they have built relations with their regular customers for many years. And if you were to talk about adapting change when it comes to a transformation of this post office, it really tugs the heartstrings because you are actually asking these friendly aunties and uncles to change the ways of their working, right? And again, I think when it comes to adapting the change, it also means that if you go back to my first pillar of strengthening the core, I think we do have to make it very clear to these employees that the strengthening the core is really about strengthening the postal office business. That comes first and foremost, and that also means in terms of the narrative itself, right? If you think about the, the the previous setup of post office, the post office used to sell a lot of knickknacks, and we always term this as if it's a mama shop because it sells things like biscuits, bird's nest, abalone, you name it, they have it. So typically, this friendly auntie and uncle who are playing the role of the post office, if you are the customer, Rita, and you're there to send a postal article, at the end of the conversation, they may ask you, would you like to buy abalone since it's Chinese New Year coming up, things like that. So they are pushing for such sales, and again, I think sometimes you as a customer feel obligated to buy because of the relationship that you have gained over the years, So again, I think sometimes this I would say habit has worked in the past, but I think if you were to look at strengthening the core itself, right, we do have to really swing the transactions elsewhere, and which is why I think when it comes to that change, we do have to help them unlearn the habits of engaging customers and try to do upselling. So when you talk about upselling core transactions itself, I think that also helps in terms of help them being the ambassadors of new service offerings, and they'll be able to gain confidence if we are able to help them navigate through these changes. So first thing first, unlearn what they have been doing all this while, and next step is to learn the new ways of working.
Wow, very nice. That was my first time knowing that working in a post office. They sell more than just the stamps of their postal services. They are the people there have to sell other services as well, right? Like
Yes.
selling abalone, the daily necessities of the people. Wow, that's interesting to know about that.
In fact, one of my, I wouldn't say pet peeve, but when I travel overseas, I do make it a point to visit the post office around the world. So I still recall, I think earlier this year I went in London,
Mm.
so I did have the chance to go to the post office in London. So typically, I think when I see the comparisons itself, right, I feel heartened that for at least for the post office in Singapore, we went through that level of transformation. Yeah.
Wow, very nice, very nice. Okay, thank you, TY. So, how can organizations encourage employees to take ownership of their own learning journeys? Because I've heard from some of the L&D experts or even HR leaders saying that, oh, employees don't really take learning as their first priority. So, what are the tips that you can share with us?
I would say if I'll share with you an anecdote itself, no, because it was a recent dinner conversation that I have with my peer, no, my friend who I've known since I think more than 2 decades already, and he was very candid in terms of his approach to learning, no, because he's very much no, he loves cars, no, so he does I would say maintenance of his own car, and he does it by watching YouTube videos, and he was, and when we talk about this whole concept about in Singapore we do have what they term as the skills futures credits, where
Mm,
it allows Singaporeans to actually sign up for training, and this they can use the skills futures credit to offset the course fees itself. So again, I
mm,
think this anecdote was really interesting in the sense that he himself said that he can't really see himself going signing up for a course and sit through a course for like 2-3 days to learn something that he could have easily learned it from online, whether is it through YouTube videos or not itself. So that also translates to what is happening in the world today. I think with the younger generations these days, they grew up in a generation of a really I would say unhealthy dosage of social media, instant gratification. And these days, is kind of is a bit challenging, for them to actually, sit through for when it comes to learning, and again, I think for it's not just about L&D practitioners anymore, but also across the ecosystem of learning. We talk about the training
mm,
vendors, we talk about the training-based organizations. We are looking at various ways to continue to keep learners engaged. So again, I think there's concepts of micro learning, whereby you are doing bite-sized learning, and
mm,
for that itself, I think it's also more palatable
mm,
to the new generation of learners. And in fact, I think if you talk about a typical course, if I use an example, like for example, problem solving and decision making, right? Um, for the whole spectrum of your employees itself, L&D practitioners these days, I think you will have to look at the various, I would say, mediums and approaches to learning that same topic. So it's not a one size fits all solution anymore, right? In fact, you might be thinking about, hey, for those who are self-driven learners, they may be more inclined to look at maybe online learning, whereby the modules are a bit more bite-sized. No, for those who are still very much, I would say the visual learners, they prefer to sit in the class, and go through the contents with in person. Then again, I think we also have to cater for that as well. And last but not least, of course, I think when it comes to what I term as the litmus test itself, right? What that all translates is really how do you actually make sure that everyone has benefited from all these learning interventions, right? So I think for organizations these days, we also need to make sure that whatever investment that we have made in learning and development itself, right, it translates to ROI, a return of investment,
mm,
right? So that also means that we do have to work closely with the various stakeholders to identify, what are the post-learning outcomes that we could actually go into. I think the post-learning outcomes itself these days, I think it has to be something practical, something that they can apply almost immediately itself, so that the transfer of knowledge and application itself, right? The time span, you don't leave it too long. In fact, sufficient enough for the learners themselves to feel that, hey, my time learning this topic was worth it.
Hmm. Very nice, very nice. ROI related learning, right? So that it will be
Yes,
beneficial to all parties. Very nice.
true,
And also
true.
as a L&D practitioner, we also have to look into different
Mm,
medium for our employees to learn. Yeah, yeah.
that's
So
right.
very nice. Thank you so much. Okay, so what characteristics should organizations look for when identifying emerging leaders? So now it comes to leadership. How to your second chapter, right? Your second pillar, how to
Yes,
develop
on
talents.
growing
Yes.
people, and in
Yeah,
fact,
growing
I
people.
think in recent times, you would have heard of various terms. For example, job hugging, right? Especially for those who can see, in the backdrop of an economy that's uncertain itself. People are holding on to their jobs. And on the flip side itself, you also have those who have just entered the workforce. They want to climb up the corporate ladder, and they feel that the career progression is not fast enough. No, so I think what is something that kind of bring everyone together is really what I term as a very much of a values driven kind of intervention, because in any organization, I think the peoples are the one who build the culture. And very much I think culture is driven by various behaviors, and also in terms of what we do or don't do, say or don't say itself. And very much I think it's also anchored towards the organization's values. So which is why I think when it comes to this whole area about identifying emerging leaders, right? Leaders in today's context itself, right? You no longer find that rule by authority to be effective anymore, right? In fact, we have been hearing about leaders. They need to open up. They need to make themselves accessible. They also need to make sure that they keep up with the times. Um, the way you have let's say for example a typical leader has through teams, or take take charge of teams. What work maybe 10 to 15 years ago would not work today, because you are working with multi-general workforce, and there is a need to find that common language that unites the various generations of workforce. And it all goes back to that identity, and goes back to the values that we want to anchor ourselves in. Because I'm very sure in a lot of organizations, the very first thing that you will actually feel or take notice of the organization is the interactions you have with the people, right? And if the people convey a certain sense of identity of their own organization, there's this sense of pride, there's this sense of energy. We all can feel it, right? And I think that's important for us. When we want to identify emerging leaders, I think one of the first few areas that we are looking at is really how do we measure value-based behavior. Yeah.
Value-based behavior.
Mm.
Oh, very
Yeah,
nice.
and which is why I
Mhm.
think in a lot of organizations, even when it comes to performance management itself, right, there will be that segment where the employees are being rated, in terms of how they live up to the values of the organization, right? And this is something that I strongly believe in, because this identity, right, whether myself as an employee, can I identify the values of the organization? Can I, be that ambassador to the organization? I think that's very important, because we spend so much time in our workplace, to the extent that sometimes we eat, breathe, the work that we we do day in day out itself. And I think that's where you also want to make that connection to the purpose that a lot of employees these days are looking for. What is their purpose of coming to work? What is their purpose of spending longer hours beyond their working hours, right? Making contributions to the organization. Yeah.
Mm, very good, very good. I love that whether their values are in line with the companies and also whether we are able to connect them with the purpose.
In fact, I just
Yay.
want to add,
Yes.
if no, I'm very sure you like to hear this story itself, because back in my role in the education sector itself, I think one of the key um, I would say initiative that I was working on was really on this area of culture building. You know, in fact, this university was a fairly new university on the block. So they have actually hired talents from universities around the region. And so when all this faculty members came in itself, I think it was a bit of a mumbo jumbo of different um, um, employees, coming in and trying to implement what we see as what works in my previous workplace should work here. But because of the fact that I was supporting the president of this university in this culture building initiative,
Mm,
alongside with my boss itself, right? We embark on this culture building journey to help this university, build that identity, and be able to bring people together. And it was a lot by the ground up initiative. We devised this approach where we identified what we term as culture ambassadors, right? So these culture ambassadors bring people together, right? So it's not like a
mm,
top-down initiative where the
mm,
president or any of the senior management wants to bring people together, but in fact, we do it from the ground up, and we were able to I would say build bridges, build connections, and most important thing itself, right? Build that spirit of collaboration, because it's not just about the because in universities you are not just talking about faculty members, you're also talking about the administrative staff, you have the supporting staff itself, technical staff, things like that. How do we bring everyone together in such a way that it uh, it really helps to build that level of collaboration across, whether you are a faculty member, whether you are a professional officer, things like that. Yeah.
mm. Very nice about this culture ambassador, right? For building
Yes.
collaboration with
Agree.
different levels of employees. Okay,
True. True.
so yeah, actually we are towards the close of the session, and just we welcome everyone to have questions for CY. You still have time for it. Just yeah. So CY, any closing remarks for us?
I would say that I think when it comes to the workforce development journey that I've taken so far itself, I think these three pillars that I've mentioned at the start of this chat itself. Number one, we talk about strengthening core. Number two,
Mm,
we talk about growing people, and number three, we talk about building capabilities. So far, I think what y'all will be thinking about is, oh, this applies to organizations, of L&D practitioners applying this pillars to the workforce development journey. But if I were to flip this around, actually, this could actually apply to the individual self. How do you continue to strengthen your own core, right? I.e., whether you do you know what you're good at? How do you strengthen it further, right? Number two,
mm,
about growing people. How do you grow yourself in the midst of an uncertain world? I shared about the various elements of factors like job hugging, uncertainty of because of AI, things like that. How do we actually future proof our own self, in this whole journey of discovery, right? And last but not least, of course, when it comes to building your own capabilities, I think this is where the this whole notion of unlearning what you have done in the past and learning what you can do in the future itself is so important, right? So I'll just leave that as my parting message: strengthen core, grow people, and build capabilities.
Wow, I really love the part on the unlearning and then relearning, right? I think it's
Yes,
everybody's role, not just an employee. I think in our daily life, we need to unlearn and relearn in order to cope with the changes in this era.
that's true.
Okay, very, very nice. So here's the end of our session. Thank you, CY, again for these wonderful insights that you have shared with us. And for next week,
Thank you,
we are
Rita.
going to have, you're welcome, you're very welcome. So for next week, we'll continue with the session with the HR leaders. And our speakers next week is going to share with us about his journey, again, in learning and development. We love to hear insights and stories from more L&D experts. Okay, so I just wish everybody the very best, and then we'll see you next week. Thank you, and take care. Enjoy the rest of the week.